We finally saw Immaculate starring Sydney Sweeney. It's one of our most anticipated horror movies this year. My biggest problem with this movie is that I wanted more details. They just really mentioned a lot of things in passing, and I just wanted more depth, more explanation for a lot of things, especially the part about the pregnant virgin. How did it happen? When did it happen? I wanted to know at least, but things were just mentioned in passing and were just meant to glue them together.
I think they have showed us how the entire process happened. Maybe would be hooked a little bit and be afraid for Sydney throughout the entire journey of the movie, but I didn't really do that. I have my suspicions of when it happened, but they did not really go into depths with it. The film was just there. Everybody has praised this film for being very fast-paced, and that's just it. And the way it was fast-paced, they did not really go into much detail. So I really agree with you. And this genre, this church horror thing, it's not really my favorite thing right now, because I just feel like it has been overworked. They are using it too much, and I just think that it needs to rest right now. There's a new horror movie too, like this, A Pregnant Virgin 2, First Omen, that came out recently. So they are just too much.
If you love movies, TV shows, and TV series, you definitely subscribe to this channel. We've got you covered. Yes. My name is Boke.
And I am Inifome. So you should strap on for a really wild ride, because we're going to go into details of this film. We're going to be explaining the end of this film. So if you haven't seen this film, I think you should pause and you don't like spoilers. So the film opens at this convent. It's late at night to see this nun trying to escape the convent, but it was just closed, and then this other group of nuns pulled her back in. Then she's buried alive in this convent. So we have this idea that, oh, something is fishy here. They didn't tell us if it was years later. We see Sydney Sweeney's character Cecilia arriving in Italy for the very first time. She doesn't really know too much Italian like that. She's here to join a convent and take her vows to become a nun.
When Cecilia arrived in this convent, she was met with mixed reactions. On one hand, the Mother Superior is happy to see her, and on the other hand, Sister Isabel is very icy towards her. And during the tour of the convent, Isabel tells Cecilia that, look, death is a part of everyday life here. But Cecilia is still wide-eyed. She's still interested in going through her oath in this convent that also doubles as a hospice. She eventually got to meet Sister Gwen. Gwen is a rebellious person, and she tells Cecilia that, okay, Father Tadashi brought you here. Oh, he knows how to always bring in the broken beds. She could just tell that something was up with Cecilia. I will soon get to find out that after the oath taking and during a conversation between Cecilia and the priest, you find out that Cecilia is actually very hell-bent on taking an oath and serving this convent because of an incident that happened when she was barely 12 years old. She almost died in an icy lake. So there's nothing that's going to sway her. She just believes that the God saving her from that lake is for a higher purpose.
Soon enough, she wanders to this chamber and she sees a nurse making this loud or moans or like she's in pain. And when she approaches her to say, are you okay? Because it's a hospice, like most of the older nuns here are not going to live for very long. This nun is faceless and her face is kind of red. But that does not really scare Cecilia away. The Mother Superior just entered into the room and she was like, Cecilia, how are you? I'm glad to have you here. And she shows her this relic. The relic is actually the nail that was used to hold Jesus Christ on the cross. When Mother Superior gave Cecilia this relic to hold, she starts feeling dizzy and she just blacks out and faints. I think it's maybe because of the shock of the entire relic thing.
Or maybe it's the wine.
Probably. Then in her dream, she sees a group of nuns actually dragging her and pulling her
and stabbing her. The following day, everything happened so fast. So Cecilia, on one hand, Cecilia felt nauseous and she threw up. The next minute, she's in this front of this panel and they're asking her about if she was serious to that oath, if she had ever been with any man before. And Cecilia is hellbent. No, I did not do anything. I am very serious with my oath. The next thing, it turns to a celebration. Cecilia, a virgin, is pregnant.
So Cecilia immediately just turns from this nun here to serve and becomes VIP, eating special meals. She doesn't really have any much duties anymore.
Her only work is
just to have a baby.
No, you're not saying it like the way this nun said it. Your work is baby.
Okay. Yeah,
that's what I can never forget that line.
Like, I can't remember that she said it. When she comes to a room, everybody's in awe. There's so much respect for her now since she has this miraculous baby in her womb.
The new Mary.
Things become really crazy when Isabel, the other nun, accuses Cecilia of stealing her position, that it was supposed to be her.
You say it's so likely she actually tried to drown her.
Yeah, she tried to drown her. It was really crazy. And the nuns, they pulled her off Cecilia. And the next day, Isabel takes her life by falling down a building, which is quite extreme. What does this even mean? I don't think Cecilia questioned a lot of things, if you ask me.
It made her curious. At this point, she was already curious.
Still laid back. She wanted to know what's going on. Of course, she'll be worried about what's in your body. But at the same time, I feel like she was not taking it very seriously. Like, somebody's, with the words this person said, you should be afraid. I like Gwen a lot because when she could question things like, are you sure you don't want to see a real doctor? But Cecilia is like, no. Like, she doesn't want to question anything too much. And then the priest take Gwen away while she was trying to for asking questions.
So Dazed and confused for what's going on in this place, everything's coming together for her. She doesn't think are strange. She decided to devise a plan to leave this convent. She had to leave. So in the morning, everybody was woken from their beds with screams. Sydney was really dedicated to screaming so much.
Insane.
So she started screaming so hard, and so everyone ran to the bedside of this precious girl, and there was blood everywhere. They were still reluctant to take her to hospital, but they had to because the screaming was much and the blood was everywhere. Soon enough, this her plan hit the rocks because they found out that it was actually a lie. Sydney of Cecilia actually just finally let go of her fear of killing animals. So she killed this hen and she doused the blood on her night dress. So that's where the blood is coming from. It was not really her blood.
Will you not say that blood is too... I've seen when they kill chickens, and that blood was just extreme for just one chicken.
I said it to that this blood is a lot.
It's too much. The blood is not that much when you just cut off the head.
Then I found out that she was relying. She decided to run. But she didn't run for too long. This part might remind you of Maria in Sound of Music. When she was running the hills, it was really nice. It's just that this one, she's bloody. She ran and they caught her and they took her back to the convent. So this is where we now learn the dark secrets. This priest, some sort of mad scientist, a biologist that is trying to experiment on people. And Cecilia is the first experiment that is working. So he harvests the DNA of Christ from this old nail, and he impregnates this nun. I don't know how, but he does it. So he showed her the lab and the field attempts, and trying to jeopardize their work, they decided to heat up hot iron that had the symbol of the crucifix and marked under Cecilia's feet with it.
This entire ordeal really brought Cecilia down a little bit. She was just quiet and trying to just plot a way how she would get out of this madhouse. And on one day during her usual ultrasound and check-up, the doctor left her in the room with Mother Superior. So this was a very good opportunity for her to actually hit her on the head. This is a perfect time to escape this place. So she hits her on the head, and immediately she gets out of this room, her water breaks. And of course, when you hear this kind of revelation, what will you want to do? You want to end this because this is just pure evil. So that was just Cecilia's one mission: go to the lab and destroy everything, take it down.
First she finds the cardinal and she kills him with her rosary. Then she goes to the lab and she douses it with petrol, and when the father came in trying to stop her, she lit the fire and she locked him in. When she was out, she thought that, okay, she had defeated this man. She was still on the floor trying to recuperate. She had defeated this man, but it comes outside again and is attacking her. She tries to use a scalpel to extract the baby from her, like, just to show that she's nothing. They just want the baby.
The pain.
During this scuffle, she picked up the relic and she stabbed him in the neck multiple times, and that's how he dies. And she tries to find a way out of the catacomb.
Cecilia managed to crawl out of this catacomb, and the baby is coming. She's no longer this wild-eyed girl who wants to just serve Christ anymore. This is like a brand new Cecilia that we see here. Rebirth. She pushes the baby out of her body with all her might, and when the baby comes out, she tears the placenta with her teeth. But the camera doesn't show us the baby, what the baby looks like. We don't hear a cry of a baby like we should hear.
But everything was on Sydney's face.
Yes, everything was on Sydney's face. Then she struggles to go and pick up a stone, goes back to this baby and smash this evil baby to death. Or whatever it was. We don't know if it's a baby.
From her facial expression, you could tell that it was some sort of creature. I don't think it was human. It was some sort of creature. So how would you rate this movie?
I was expecting more because this film has had a lot of praise. And kudos to Sydney Sweeney for her wonderful performance. She was so stellar in the role. I would give it 3 stars. It's not so great. It's not a film that I think I would want to see again. It's just there.
I'll give it 3 stars as well. I had such high hopes. I didn't watch the trailer. From when I just said Immaculate, Sydney Sweeney, I'm like, yes. It was okay. Like you said, rewatch value. No. So yeah, do you have any other thoughts about this movie?
No, wait. I think the part where Cecilia got pregnant was during that time where she just got there and took her vows, where she fainted in that place after seeing the relic. I think they had to do something to her
maybe
there.
The priest spiked her drink, so she was, because she was like, oh, the wine, I embarrassed myself. So yeah, but I just really wanted to know how it all happened.
Yeah,
it had not been bad if they showed us that, okay, they injected her. Was it true? I'm just really curious. So yeah, you should definitely like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Until next time, do take good care of yourself. Goodbye.